Hi, my name is Mike, and welcome to my channel, Let's Ponder. So the purpose of this channel is so that we can talk about these controversial subjects that are rising up today. As I watch the media and as I'm looking at what's recommended on YouTube, as I'm looking at what's going down in Google or Facebook or whatever your outlet may be, I notice that there is a disconnection between one another. We attack each other through the media without sincerely thinking about these subjects. Rather, instead of listening, we are anticipating what we're going to say and respond to the other person, not taking into consideration the way they might be expressing themselves. Now, you might be thinking, oh, but I listen to people all the time. That's not necessarily true. Because as you're listening, you're probably thinking of a response. And let's be honest, when we think of our own responses, we do not get the essence of what the person is trying to convey. So, this is going to be my first video on this channel, and let's get right into it. So the subject of this is why Jesus? Why consider him? Why any of this? And it probably, for those of you who are not religious, it's probably going to take you a little bit aback because the channel is called Let's Ponder. And what are we going to think about? Well, we're going to think about what it means to be human, what it means to be alive, what it means to share the earth with other people who share radically different thoughts and are outspoken on their beliefs, are outspoken on their points of views. And, well, here I am doing my part in this grand picture. So, I want to dive into this subject, why Jesus? And I'm going to start off a little bit with my own personal testimony. Before coming to Christ seriously 4 years ago, I was 3 years making a disaster out of my life. I began partying and experimenting with drugs. I loved marijuana, and to this day, that's still one of those things that I am very tempted to do and to fall into. It's my battle. So I don't sit here and pretend, and I'm not coming here on this channel thinking that I'm better than you or I am more righteous than thou art. No, that is not my thoughts at all. Rather, I'm here because I am a fallen man, because I am imperfect. And this is why I chose to follow Jesus, because outside of Jesus, when I was in my own world of agnosticism and atheism, I began to think about what it meant to be human, and I came away with one very startling conclusion. That conclusion was, if there is no God, if there truly is no God, and Jesus is just a man-made myth, then there's no reason for me to treat you the way you want to be treated. Rather, why not do things according to how I see fit best possible? Now, that does not mean that I think that everybody's evil or that everybody is good or that just people who are Christians are good or just people who practice certain things are a certain way. I don't believe that one bit. But it does get to the root of the problem of the human heart, the condition of the human heart. Not your opinion, not what you think, but rather who you are and who I am as people who have to share this earth. So once I got rid of the God of the Bible and I completely did away with it, I started to think, well, who should I be? How should I act? And obviously the first thing is like, oh, I'm going to love people better. I'm going to do this better. I'm going to do things way better than the religious people are. I'm going to do things better than my father did because my dad is a religious man. And I'm going to live in a way radically better than the people who claim to follow Jesus. But let me tell you, boy, was I wrong. The more I dove into this subject of living without God, I realized that there really was no limits to who I could become. Now, that might sound positive until you start exploring what it was to be able to devalue people and make fun of others and take it darker, fantasize about things that shouldn't be fantasized about. And others might be saying, oh, you're just twisted, you're just sick. And my response to that is, no, I wasn't twisted or sick. Rather, I was experimenting with my own moral boundaries, and I was pushing myself as far out as I could to be able to get the result that I wanted, whether that was through being honest or lying. I looked at things whether if manipulating was convenient to me, then I manipulated people. If being sincere was convenient to me, then I was sincere. I used everything I could to express who I was and to convey who I wanted to be and to paint an image of who I really was. But this is where my story of following Jesus begins. I was invited to play with a musical group. I'm a musician. And I said no because this group was Christian. And I didn't want anything to do with the church. By then, the church was a long memory away from me. It was a whole other lifetime at that point. And so I decided to reject the offer. But these people who to this day are dear friends of mine kept pushing me, and I finally said yes. Well, I went in with a plan to lead the minds of young people away from who Christ was and show them the freeing nature of atheism, doing what you want to do, defining good and evil on your own terms. And well, when I went to California, because that's where this event took place, I became mute, and I choked it up to the change in altitude, weather, or whatever it was at the time. But I couldn't speak. I physically could not speak. My throat was clogged up. I felt like I had all this mucus in here. It was nasty. And I spent the first 2 days of that event like that. The first day, I didn't think anything much of it. People were inviting me to hang out with them, and little did I know that it was actually God demonstrating his love to me and giving me a chance to think about it and kind of conform, at least be decent enough and have the respect to respect that event and to submit to what was taking place there. But I didn't. In my mind, I had a plan, and I was going to take this plan out and carry it out. Well, on the second day, my body started shaking and sweating, and I remember we were playing and they were directing the worship, but I was just into my guitar playing, and I went to swipe the sweat away from my eyes. When I opened my eyes, my body was kneeling down, and in my mind I said, not today, God. You are not going to take this away from me. I refuse to follow you. At that moment, the guy who was preaching and ministrating the service took the guitar from me, set it aside, and he said, I have shut your mouth so that I can speak. Now you are going to listen and know who I truly am. Right there, I felt my heart sink into myself. And I broke down, and he started narrating my past life from those 3 years up to that point. And, well, the thing that impacted me the most was he said, this preacher, God speaking through this preacher, said, you should have been dead. But I have kept you with life because I have made a promise to your father, and I will uphold that promise. Those words are what changed my life forever, because I realized how much God truly does love. And no, it's not the kind of love that you think it is. God is love. No, this is a whole kind of love that when people humble themselves and they seek him, God truly listens to them. And my dad is a man of prayer. He's a man who truly loves God and will abandon anything for the sake of the gospel. And, well, upon hearing these words, I broke down and I cried and I gave my life to Jesus. And so, I'm going to end my testimony and address the question, so why Jesus? Why Jesus? Why out of all these gods did I choose to follow Jesus in that moment? Well, because in all my years, from before I was a serious Christian to 4 years later, which is today. I'm 26 now. I came to Jesus at the age of 22, and I left my parents' beliefs. I left the tradition of my fathers when I was 19. Throughout all that time spent, I spent time researching. Yes, I partied and I experimented and I had a lot of fun, but I'm also a man who loves to be educated. And so I researched philosophy, I researched archaeological findings, I researched literary structures and literature relating to any scriptures or any text that claim to be sacred. And then I studied some languages that hold these amazing ideas, because I am a Christian does not mean that I don't find other religions fascinating. I really do, and I think we can learn a lot from them. But I studied all these things, and when I compared all these other religions, what they had to offer, and then the God of the Bible, and accumulating with who Jesus is, I saw a big difference. You see, in all of these other texts, these gods win by force. They pronounce wars and take over other people, and they tell their kings and their followers to submit them and oppress them and to completely destroy their gods. Now, you might be thinking, if you're an atheist, you're like, oh, but the God of the Old Testament commanded Israel to take over other nations. And I'm not shining away from that. That will be a subject for another day. But when we come to the person of Jesus, you see, what makes this God of the Bible different from any other God is that the other gods don't really instruct humanity of what they should do. Rather, they just dictate and rule over them. But if you take that view that Jesus truly is God, and you accept who he is and his divine nature, and you see how he ruled as a man, not as God, but how he ruled as a man, then he is radically different from any king, any emperor out there. So I look at Jesus, and for me, what I see, and it's not even for me, this is not my opinion, what the Bible shows leading up to Jesus is a new way of becoming human, a new form of humanity, to actually have a reason to have compassion, to actually have a reason to care for others. Now you might say, but you don't have to follow God to be a good person. I completely reject that, for the simple reason that without God, you have every reason to do what you want. And regardless of what law says, regardless of what ethics say, regardless of your own morality, if there is no God, then I have every reason to be as wicked as I want, or as deceitful as I want, or as loving as I want. I can do whatever I want because that I'm creating my life in my own image. So why do I choose Jesus? I choose Jesus because when I look at him, I have no excuse on treating you bad and on disrespecting who you are. I have no excuse on looking down on others. Rather, I look to Jesus and I say, your will be done. But I truly live that out by giving my life and offering it up as well for the sake of those I love, and most importantly, for the sake of my enemies. This is Mike Munguia with my first YouTube video. Let's ponder. Thank you for watching the video thus far. I tried to make this video shorter than 20 minutes because I know everybody has a life to live and everybody has things to do. But if you liked what I had to offer, then you can support me by clicking subscribe and liking this video, and comment below on other subjects I should do. The purpose of this, this video does not go too deep into philosophy and the philosophical aspects of why Jesus. But if you want to hear more, comment below, and also comment on subjects that you would like me to answer and address. If you're an atheist, I would love to hear your most challenging questions. I am not here to argue, so let's just throw that on the table. I'm not here to start heated debates to fight against you. I don't want to fight against you. I want us to come to common ground and understanding so that we can further progress this humanity, because I believe God loves this humanity. Therefore, we have to work together regardless of our beliefs. And if you are a Christian, then comment down below on a subject that you definitely would like to hear addressed. Anything ranging from theology or questions on verses. How do we address these problems in today's society? I am an open book, and I would like to contribute what I have learned from philosophy and from other lines of thinking, but most importantly, what I see, what the Bible has to say about these subjects. So go ahead and share this video with others. Subscribe to me and hit like, and we'll see you next time.